Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Riding Horses. You know, I'm out here today. What a beautiful day. It's a little foggy out here. There's some moisture falling. I'm hoping I can see through my glasses as we go along here today, but I've got my camera lady behind the camera, so we thought we'd go ahead and shoot this. What I want to share with you guys today is I want to show you the contrast between this gray mare. This is Miss Purina that I'm sitting on, and this Sorrel horse. This horse belongs to a friend of mine up in Maine. And this horse is a really good example of what most people are dealing with at their clinics. That people come ride with us at our clinics, and they're always wanting me to show them how to get their horse to progress and how to get their horse to ride, maybe ride like mine. And I think there's some things we're missing. So all I really want to do today is contrast what this gray mare looks like at a lope and what this sorrel horse looks like at a lope. So hopefully you guys will be able to see a pretty big difference in how relaxed this gray mare is when she's loping around compared to this sorrel horse. And then I'll show you guys some things that we're usually all trying to work on while we're loping our horse around, how much easier it is to get things to work when your horse is relaxed versus what often comes up when your horse isn't. So we'll just leave old Sorrel right there for a second. So obviously we're beyond riding this mare in a snaffle, but I put her in a snaffle just because I'm riding that horse in a snaffle. So somebody won't watch this and say, well, she's riding different or looks different because you've got a different bit in her mouth. It's really not a matter of what bridle I've got on her. As I lope this mare around here, it's not so much the position of her head, okay? What I want you to focus on is whether or not this mare looks relaxed while I'm loping her around. As far as where their head is, we can change that. The big issue that I run into at my clinics is somebody's got a horse that, and you'll see it big time when I crawl on this sorrel horse, they want to have their head up and they're pretty stiff through their neck. And a lot of people say they're pretty stiff at the poll, but it's not just there. That horse is stiff through his whole neck. So if I do take the slack out of these reins, all I'm trying to get, guys, is my horse soft from the withers forward. This is not something I haven't talked about before, but I want to show the contrast today. So when somebody's out there and they can lope circles on their horse and they say, well, my horse is ready to be working on what you're working on with yours, and they say, show me how to get my horse to roll up in the bridle. And what this sorrel horse is going to help us see today is I don't have to change the technique at all, but what it's going to look like and feel like when I ask this mare to roll up in the bridle versus what it's going to look like and feel like on him. Two different things because of the frame of mind they have while they're loping around. Come around here one more circle, but you can see how relaxed this is. It's not a matter of this mare wants to just keep speeding up. She's not out here acting like a goofball, which we're probably going to see here as I jump on this sorrel horse. So just try to really focus on that mare right there. As I was loping around and you were watching, if you go back and watch this episode again, I just want you to look at this mare really close from her head to her tail while she's loping around. Because if all you're going to try to do is get your horse to change his head position, his head carriage, you're just trying to get him rolled up in the bridle. But you miss the fact that when you do get to the lope, your horse is anything but relaxed. You're not going to have the same feel and you're not going to have the same outcome as you would if you were sitting on a horse that was relaxed. This horse he's in a frame of mind where he struggles sometimes trying to find what we're asking him to, because this horse he's been handled in a manner to where someone's tried to force him to be different. Okay, and that's what I'm watching. The majority of people that are out there and they're loping their horses around, and if they are working on the position their horse's head is in, they're spending more time trying to force it to the spot where they want it to be, instead of thinking, you know, maybe if I could get my horse a little bit more relaxed, maybe it wouldn't be so hard to get that position that we're after. Soft from the withers forward, that's just one aspect of the horse. What I'm trying to do is just get my horse relaxed from head to tail while I'm loping around. So I'll trot him here, circle, and just kind of limber him up. Hopefully he'll give you guys a good example of what it looks like. So as he gets to the lope here, if you really just focused on this horse from the withers forward, you can see a pretty drastic difference from here forward in this horse versus that gray mare. I'm just going to lope him here for a minute. I'm just trying to steer a little bit. But being in the position where I'm at right now, if I think about what I'm trying to get accomplished in my hands through their neck to where I can get that horse rolled up in the bridle, how relaxed that horse feels underneath me, to me, makes all the difference. Okay, this right here is what I'm dealing with majority of the time when we go somewhere for a clinic. Somebody comes in and they're loping their horse around, and they lope around about like this, and all they want to do is say, I want to change all this. I want my horse's head lower. And then off we go trying to change that through our reins. But I'm telling you right now, while I'm loping him around, this horse is so tense through his whole body, especially right through here. I can get his head down with my reins. That's not the issue. The issue is the frame of mind I'm going to end up with once I start asking for it. So how do I take a horse like this and get them to where they can relax more while I'm loping around, so I could work on maybe rolling them up in the bridle a little bit? Well, I think I'm going to build that relaxed frame of mind in my horse primarily by this right here, by turning loose of their head and loping them around a while, not trying to force anything on them. So here he picked up the counter canter. I'll leave him in it here for a minute. Okay, that's about long enough. That's about all I can stand right there. So let's say I come out here and I lope him around. See, that right there's a lot different already. I'm gonna pick up on him and I'm gonna steer a little bit. For the most part, I'm gonna leave him alone and see if maybe, so I really like that right there. You see that getting lower? He's loping more with his energy flowing forward than coming this way. And I can feel that horse relax all the way down his back when he does that. So now I've got places where I'm feeling him relax pretty good there. His head's coming down. What you end up with on a horse that doesn't know how to relax while they're loping around, and all you're trying to do is change the position their head's in while they're loping, you can get that horse rolled up in the bridle, but you're probably not going to have a horse that's round through his whole neck from his withers forward. He's just going to have a lot of bend right in there. And that's where this horse, just here to walk, if you look at him, you see pretty much all the bend in his neck happens right here. That to me is a pretty good example of what they look like when I'm just trying to force them into bringing their head down. So right now he's probably complaining as much about having to lope as anything. He's trying to talk me out of loping so much. But I'm gonna be out here doing something like this. I'm gonna tip his nose a little bit there to the left, pick up my outside rein just enough to make contact. And as the head goes that way, I'm gonna turn loose of it. More of an idea or a concept of me asking this horse to change that versus trying to force it. This is 95% of the people out there that can lope their horses around. They have this, but they want something that looks more like that gray mare. The difference is her frame of mind. She's more relaxed. It's not the position of her head. How many circles would I have to lope on this rascal? Before he would get the idea. I don't know, but we start a lot of horses, so I have the opportunity to sit on a lot of young horses that have never carried a rider at a lope before, never carried a rider at all. And it's pretty interesting. You can take those horses and in 5 short days, in 5 rides, I'm talking from the first ride to the 5th ride, not 2 months down the road, the very first 5 rides, I can have a colt loping way more relaxed than this horse is. So again, I'm going to tip his nose a little bit to the left, just enough pressure with my outside rein that he can feel it, and when he comes down, I'm going to turn loose. Now if I bring him back to a trot and I just trot him here, I mean, you can see here as he's trying to steer off my circle and I'm steering him around. That's what I'm after right there at the trot. But every time I pick a rein up to steer, the first thing this horse does is brace against it. So all I'm trying to get you guys to see today is the difference when this horse lopes off from his withers forward to that mare. I'm saying focus on as you're watching from the withers forward, but if you're sitting where I'm at, you can feel this horse from his head to his tail. When he's loping here to the left, he wants his head up, his nose tipped to the outside, and his rib cage is stuck over here to the left. So he's kind of bent to the outside all the time, which is why I'm asking just little by little for the nose to tip to the inside. Now right there, I'm not trying to change the position of his head. All I was doing over here is trying to change the position of his rib cage. I'm using my inside leg. Again, I'm gonna stop right here in front of the camera. This is a horse about anybody can come out here and lope around on. I can put my son up on this horse and he can come out here and lope around on this horse. I'm not saying it's out of control. We've got some steering, but it's the contrast of the frame of mind this horse is in while he's loping around versus that mare right there when she's loping around, and how it affects everything that, not just that they do, it affects everything that I'm going to ask them to do, everything I'm going to ask them to change. Go a couple more circles here to the right. So I think the horse feels better to the right because he always carries himself bent with his nose tipped a little bit to the right, his rib cage out here to the left a little bit. So then when I'm on this right circle, everything feels a little bit more fluid. That's the position I need him to be in. But you'll also notice while he's loping around here to the right, he can find a lot more relaxed position here where everything can go that way a little bit, where he can get his momentum flowing forward a whole lot easier than he can loping to the left. I've got people that tell me all the time, I've been loping that horse around a long time, I've been working on that, I'm ready to move on. And I don't know that I'm going to designate whether or not my horse is ready to move on by the number of circles I've loped, because maybe I've loped a couple thousand circles, but I haven't really got much change in my horse. My horse hasn't relaxed much yet. I'm going to judge that more off what my horse feels like while he's loping around, whether or not I'm ready to move on. But I think just those few circles I loped right there, I think this horse gave us a good example of what it looks like on a horse that doesn't know how to lope around and think about driving their energy forward, where they're flowing that way versus this way. And then for us as a rider, if I'm dealing with a horse that carries himself here at a lope and I'd rather it be there while he's loping around, am I just going to try to be busy enough with these reins, ask him enough times to change this, to get his head a little bit lower, to roll up in the bridle, to round his neck from his withers forward, that eventually he's going to stay, even though he's in this frame of mind to be tense and tight and resist at times? Or am I going to focus more on once I get him relaxed? So what I'm trying to tell you folks that think you're ready to move on, what you need to be searching for is a horse that's really relaxed at a lope. My glasses are got so much moisture on them I can't even see. Focus more on how relaxed that horse is, guys, and If you're not there, then keep loping, keep working at it. Don't try to force anything on your horse. My goal, this horse is going to be here with us for a while. My goal is to come out here and let this horse find it. If I want him to leave and lope around like that gray mare does, I'm going to have to give him the same opportunity I gave her, and it wasn't me trying to force anything on her, okay? So my horse can lope. He's not trying to run off, but he's really tight. Your number one goal is to say, okay, I got to get him to relax before I focus on trying to change his head position. I was going to jump back on this gray mare, but I think she showed us when we started there with a good enough contrast between what she looked like and this horse looked like that you guys can see it. As you watch this, all I'm asking you to do is be open and honest and willing to analyze your horse and try to see where they're at and work from that spot. So I hope this is something you guys can use. We've got lots of videos that we've filmed over the last couple years talking about head position, collection, all that stuff. But I never really broke it back down and said, let's just look at the contrast of what a couple horses look like loping around and build our platform from there. So let this be your building block as you progress down the road in your training with your horse. So thanks again for tuning into this episode of Riding Horses, and we will see you next time, and hopefully the sun will be shining. Y'all have a great day.